This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so we're picking up on in Safaria, it's 4494. Okay, David, do you have that with us?
No, I don't. I'll have to. Is that a book I should be buying?
You don't need to. It's on Safaria. It's online. If
Okay.
one of you who are on Safari want to just put into the chat the link of where it is, just copy the link from the top of the page there and put it into the chat, and David could just click it.
David, do you have an iPhone or an Android?
Guys, I
This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so we are 4494 in Safaria, and he's going to go into a question that is often asked, and that is that people are often surprised that the Torah does not speak about Olam Haba. The Torah does not speak about the world to come. Okay? And he's going to give a number of reasons why the Torah would not speak about it. And this is a question that often comes up in conversation, so it's good to explore one of the classical sources and his different approaches on it. Aval Perish HaChelek HaShishi, the explanation of this sixth category. V'hu b'gmol, the gemul, the payment, the reward, we'll call it, of ha'olam hazeh v'olam haba, of this world and the next world. Asher yia adam roilo, that a person is deserving or worthy of it. Deserving, we'll see, is not the greatest word, but is eligible for it. B'masa tov ba'olam, through the good deeds, actions that one does here in this world. Hu shal gemul al shnei panim. Hello, Carol. We're just starting 4494. And the reward that a person gets for our actions, that is in two manners. Gumul ba'olam hazeh bilvad. One possibility is only getting reward here in this world. Ugumul ba'olam haba bilvad, right? And only getting reward in the next world. V'yeshiyu ru'uyim shneim ha'maaseh echad. Or it could be that one act will bring about positive reaction, positive results, both in this world and in the next world. V'lo purash lanu be'er zeh bi'ur zeh be'er. Yet this is not explained to us in a clear manner, a be'er hetev. Ach, arev habori la'amul, the Creator has guaranteed to his people gumul kolel, a generalized gumul, tov, you'll get tov, al maseh kolel, on generalized, if you do good, you will get good. And the Torah delineates what is good, those are the mitzvot, and what is not good, those are the prohibitions. But it doesn't give details of what comes for what. V'lo chilek hagmul ala avodot ba'olam. It did not split up and differentiate and define the gemul, the recompense, we'll call it, on different avodot, different types of service to God in the world. Kamosha asaba onesh. When it comes to the don'ts, when it comes to the negative repercussions, there it's very clear. This is the repercussion, the negative repercussion. Right? I don't like to use the term punishment, because punishment often has the connotation that I'm looking to harm, I'm looking to punish, I'm looking to detract. But we view every onesh that the Torah gives as a form of cleansing, as a form of rehabilitation. Even the death penalty is not to rid society of this scourge, this evil individual, but rather that a person has done something that is so horrific that continuing to put through one's life with the usual, I'll do Shabbos, I'll do some Yom Tov, I'll give some tzedakah, I'll get to davening, right? I'll keep kosher, right? Putting with the regular is not going to do it for that person. That's not going to get them where they need to get to. And therefore there needs to be this literally giving of their life back to God. And that is a very intense teshuva process. So it's not this late night horror movie. It is the person says kiddush. That's what we have the custom to say l'chaim when someone's about to have an intoxicating drink. We say l'chaim because at that point a person would say lamita for death, and they would make kiddush before they would do their vidur, their confession, and then have that capital punishment. So that's why punishment is not the best term to use. We'll just say onesh. But there is a specific onesh that we have for averot ba'olam, for different transgressions. Kamosha piresh ha'ma'asim. And it also, so it specifies different types of onesh and aligns them with different actions. Shosehem chayavin skilos, reifa, hereg, v'chenek. There are 4 different types of capital punishment that could be administered by a Beit Din. And it's very clear in the Torah which of the capital punishments are given for which of these actions. Now, it's always important to keep in mind, the Gemara in Makos tells us that a Beit Din that executed someone capital punishment once in 7 years was considered to be murderous, ratzchan, a murderous Beit Din. So it very, very rarely happened. And the other opinion that argues on that first opinion, the Mishnah in Makos, says once in 70 years. And the Gemara is unsure according to that second opinion. Is he saying once in 70 years that was the norm? Or was he saying once in 70 years, that's a murderous Beit Din? So it's important to realize that this was not the Wild West, right, with people being executed often, but the Torah does lay out which capital punishment for which Avera, Umalkut Arba'im, and for which things would a person receive lashes. Mita, death, kares, that's a spiritual cutting off. Tashlume kefel, for some monetary prohibitions, theft. So then a person will need to pay kefel, will need to pay back double the amount that the person stole. Tashlumi arba v'chamisha, in certain rare instances, if you steal a sheep or a shore or an ox or a sheep, and you either slaughter it or sell it, you'll need to pay back 4x or 5x, 4 times the value, 5 times the value. Interestingly, if you're stealing a sheep, it's 4 times the value. If you're stealing an ox, it's 5 times the value. And different reasons are given for that. One reason is the ox does work. So you deprived this person of a source of his livelihood. The other is an ox you could lead away, the sheep you've got to carry. So therefore, since you suffered the indignity of having to run with this animal over your shoulders, and when running with an animal over your shoulders, sometimes the animal emits some bodily fluids, some bodily substances. So it's not the most dignified of situations for one to be in. So that will lower the payment. Nezek, sure, if your ox causes damage, or your car, or any of your objects cause damage. Bor, if you create an obstacle in public domain. Shane, your animal eats. Aish, you were reckless with fire, and the fire spread and caused damage. Notain mum ba'adam, if you accost someone else and you cause them a blemish. All these things. Sholachet yad v'mvushav, if you humiliate someone, there is a boshet payment. V'motzi shemra, if one is motzi shemra, if one makes false claims about his wife soon after their marriage. So there are all these very clear set repercussions for this. V'adoma lezeh, So when it comes to the downside, when it comes to the negative, there the Torah is very, very clear. For this infraction, there is this onesh. Very, very, very clear. Aval gumul. But the gumul, the reward, how does Safaria explain that? As they say reward, recompense. Which term does he use over there in the English? Reward. But the reward of Olam Haba, the onasho, or the onesh in the world to come, lo piresh mehem hanavi me'uma bisifro. But the great Navi, right, Moshe, did not explain that in his Sefer, in the Torah, and that is ba'avur kama panim, and for a number of reasons. And now he's going to start to work through different reasons as to why the Torah does not lay out, specify what reward a person gets in the world to come for different mitzvot. Mayhem, of these reasons, kitzurat hanefesh, biladei haguf, the form, the shape, the existence of a nefesh, of a soul, biladei haguf, without a body, which is what happens when we cross what we call the Gesher HaChaim, the bridge of life, where we go from our earthly spiritual existence to a purely spiritual existence. Eina Yedua Etzleinu. We don't know what that is. And we can't fathom what it is, because we can only imagine things that are within our realm of existence, within our realm of experience. So it's not Yedua, it's not known to us. Kol Shekain, certainly to understand Mashatit Aneg, that which will bring us pleasure when we're in such a state. O Titzta'er, or that which will cause us anguish, pain, sadness. Be'inyanahu, when we are in that state. Migamul va'onesh, in terms of the gemul, the reward, and the onesh. Ach, where do we find piresh oto lemishu mevin ha'inyan hazeh? Hashem only explained this to one who understood what this was. Like Hashem said to Yoshua, not Joshua of Moshe's disciple, but Yoshua the Kohen Gadol, in the time of the Navi Zechariah. V'natati l'cha mahalchim bein ha'umdim ha'eleh. I will give you the ability to walk amongst those who are assembled here, those who are standing. And actually, this is a very, very famous pasuk, a very famous verse, in that we extract from this that a human being is called a holech, a walker. And the angels are called omed, omdim, standers. And that's why during the Amidah, we put our feet together as if it is one foot with an inability to walk. We are in an angel-like state. But actually, on one hand, the angel-like state with the feet together, so you don't vacillate. You don't go one step forward, 2 steps back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. We don't vacillate up and back. At the same time, they have no room, no potential for growth, for transformation, for self-development. But we are called a holech. But we see over here that Hashem, the Navi, said to Yoshua, the Kohen Gadol, I will give you the ability to walk amongst those, or you will be there amongst those who are standing. That's not going to be while the soul is still connected to the body, the state that each and every one of us are in. Aval Ramaz, but rather it alluded Lamashiyeh Achar Mavet, that which will be after death. Shetashuv nefesh, that the soul will then return to being Bitsurat Hamalachim, in the form of angels. meaning B'inyan pishituta v'dakuta, in terms of it shedding its physical garment, v'dakuta, and its refinedness, v'azva lishtamesh begufa, and it will no longer be utilizing this body. The body and the soul are a partnership during the extent of our lifetime here, and there's a certain time when that partnership comes to an end, and the body is returned to the earth from where it came, and the soul returns up to the spiritual realm from where it came. Kshetizdachech, the tazihir, when it'll become purified and glowing. V'hayu ma'aseh tovim ba'olam hazeh, right? And, right? And if its actions were good, right, here in this world. So the first explanation, he says, is we can't explain it. It can't be understood, right? You know, you talk to, again, there's a book, Life After Life. I've referenced this many times over the years, by a Dr. Moody, who was a non-Jewish, who was a non-religious doctor, but in the course of his career as a doctor, he came across many, many people who had these near-death experiences where they were clinically proclaimed to be dead, declared dead, and then they came back. And there were such similarities in experiences that they had of going through a tunnel towards a light. And in many of these cases, the person, when they came back, they were able to tell what happened in the interim, even though there are people who were not there when they died, so to speak. The person came in afterwards, said certain things, did certain things, and then was out of the room again when they were revived. And yet they spoke about how they were lifted out of their body, were watching all that happened. This person walked in, was wearing this, said this, did this, and then left. So he put together this whole book on the common experiences of human beings upon their death and their transition to the after death experience. But they all describe a light going towards this beautiful, pure, bright light. But they all then immediately have the rejoinder, but it's not a light like anything that we have. But the closest thing that we have in our world is to say it's a light. But it doesn't exist in our world. So we only have words that were formed to describe that which we have in our world, in our realm of experience. So therefore, the Torah can't describe to physical beings that which the next world holds for us once we're no longer physical beings, because there are no words to describe it, and it will just be borrowing terms that will not properly depict what it is. Approach number one. Umehem, and amongst them, another reason. Shegemul ha'olam haba va'onasho haya mekubal eitzel amei ha'aretz me'hanevi'im. The descriptions that could be expressed about olam haba, both the positive and the negative, was mekubal. It was known, it was accepted. Eitzel amei ha'aretz me'hanevi'im. To the people of the land, everyone knew about it. Me'hanevi'im. Umuskal eitzel chachamim. And the chachamim, the wise, the scholars of each generation, they understood an understanding of it. And therefore there was no need to mention it in the Sefer. Right? There are many things that the Torah does not go into detail because it's passed down generation to generation, right? To me, the clearest example is the Torah says that the mitzvah of tefillin, it should be an ot on your hand and totafot between your eyes. What in the world does that mean? What is an ot and what's a totafot? Right? But it's been passed down generation to generation that anyone who wears tefillin is wearing the same tefillin, right? No one's wearing these purple oval objects or these green round objects. They're wearing black square objects, and it is a compartmented item that goes on the head. It's a single compartmented item that goes on the hand, and the straps are wrapped around the arm, right? So the Torah did not go into detail about that because it's known. And the Torah cannot and does not go into detail, right? It fills in that which is not so clear. That which is clear, there's no need. So it's part of what we call the Torah Shebal Peh, the oral teaching that's been passed down generation to generation. Umehem, and another idea. Sha'am hayu min hasichlut umiyat havana. B'inyan she'enu ne'elam mima shekatuv b'Torah. We were at an immature, childlike in terms of maturity state at the time that the Torah was being given to us. We were 49 days out of full slavery, and we were not yet ready for a sophisticated, mature depiction that we would then strive towards. All right, the pasuk actually says, I have it on my notes over here, not my own notes, but in the sefer that I have. It's a verse in Deuteronomy 29:3. Hashem has not yet given you the heart to understand, the eyes to see, the ears to hear, ad hayom hazeh, until this day. And that was at the end of Moshe's life, right? Deuteronomy 29, right? That's the very end of Moshe's life. The Torah had been given 40 years before that. This towards the end, the very end of the 40 years in the Midbar. And therefore, the Creator acted with them, with us at that point, minhag ha'av hachomel b'no katan, the way that a loving father would deal with a young child. Kishehu rotzeh liyasro b'nachat v'la'at, when he wants to guide him in the path that he should go. So he's going to do it benachat ula'at, in a gentle, slow manner. Like the pasuk says in Hosea, this is one of the Trei Asar, one of the 12 shorter prophets that we have, that they were all combined into one sefer called Trei Asar, Aramaic for 12. Ki na'ar Yisroel, Israel is like a lad, a youth. V'ohavehu, and I love him. And therefore I will act in the way of a loving parent. V'a'av, and a parent. K'shirotz lamed epino b'naruto, when he wants to teach his child, when the child is young and not fully matured, he wants to teach him hachachmot, he wants to teach him wisdom, and he wants to teach him the way that he will be able to succeed in life. Asher yale behen el ha'malot elionot, pathways, wisdom, which will bring him to an uplifted life. Asher lo yavinein hanar be'etahi, the child is not going to fully understand it at that time. Ilu hayimafayis oto alehen, if the father, right, would at that point, right, would he, let me see, puts this 1 second. If he would try to convince him, try to incentivize him, and say to him, Suvol yigiot hamusar v'alimud, right? Bear the difficulties of all these years of study, all these years of self-improvement. That way you really succeed in life. The kid's not ready to take that on. He's not ready to absorb that. And he won't listen to the father. Right? He sees the here and now. You're telling me that in 15 years I'll have a great degree and I'll have a wonderful parnasa, right? I want to play on my I want to play games on the computer right now. I want to watch some YouTube videos now. The kasher yadeu al zeh b'mashu arev lo miyad. But if the parent will explain to the child that which is sweet for that person right now, mimachal, you'll eat well. Umishte, come, I'll give you a nice piece of cake. You could have some M&Ms, right? You could have a soda, whatever it is. Malbush na'eh, I'll buy you some nice clothing. Umer kavat na'eh, I'll get you a brand new bicycle. V'adoma lazeh, and other such enticements. V'yo'iduhu, b'mashi tze'eroto, miyad mirav, right? And otherwise, there will be immediate negative repercussions, results. Meirav, you'll be hungry. Ve'erom, naked. Malkut, you'll get hurt. V'adom alehem. V'yashev daito amashi yiftach alav min harayot hamurgashot. Then the father can give clear examples, concrete examples. V'adiyot hagluyot hamitiyot. And then see that, right, this is what happens if you're going to do this, the negative consequences. Then, when the child feels the immediate gains or losses, yakel alav, then it'll be a lot easier. It'll become light upon him. Lisbol yigiat hamusar v'lasei torcho, to carry these responsibilities and to work their way on such a path. The kasher yagia liyimei habachurot, but as the child matures, v'chazek sichlo, and one's seichel becomes stronger, yavin ha'inyan hamuchuvan elav b'musaro, then he'll understand really what will this lead to, the real benefits, the real gains. V'yechavein ala elav, and that's where one's focus will be. Vatimat beinav ha'aravut, and then getting the chocolate bar, right, is not going to be meaningful. Vatima'et, it'll become diminished in that person's eyes, all of these sweet now things. The things that had motivated him originally, that he ran for in the beginning. Alav. And that was because of the father's compassion on the child. V'chein habore yitbarach. So too Hashem, the Creator. Yiyachel imo. V'hivchidam. Right? So he will give us the immediate benefits. V'hivchidam. And warn of the immediate negative repercussions. Because he knows that that's something that a person can experience, can see. Understanding that as we develop and we become wiser and deeper and mature, so then that foolishness will come off, and and then our intent will be to serve Hashem, not for the chocolate bar, not for all these things. So at that earlier stage in our life, that was not something which could be understood and motivating for us. Hashem needed to break it down, like we say in the Shema. You'll have the rains in their time. This will happen. That will happen. You'll have bounty crops. Oh, that we can relate to. And then eventually we will recognize, as he'll say in some of his reasonings later on, that anything that we do doesn't really deserve, meaning anything that we do, when we weigh that against all that Hashem does for us constantly, we're always, always, always in the O. We're always in the negative. Right? So therefore we'll ideally reach the point where we recognize that anything that Hashem asks of us, right, the least we can do is to want to do that because of this overwhelming, overflowing sense of gratitude and thanks that we have to Hashem for all that He has done for us and is doing for us every single moment. And this same idea also applies to one of the big questions. The Rambam goes to great length to say that there is no corporeality. Rambam has it as one of his 13 foundational principles of faith, that ein lo guf v'lo yasigeo masige haguf. God has no physicality. There's no corporeality to God. What do you mean? Look at the psukim. God stretched out his hand, his arm, God's eyes, we have all of these anthropomorphic terms that the Torah constantly is using to describe Hashem. So therefore, how do we understand that? We understand that the Torah is using terms that we can relate to. It's breaking it down for us. It's bringing it into our world. Not that God has any physicality, but we can understand God's arm means God's power. God's eyes means God's supervision, God's orchestration of events. We recognize that is what stop the music, because the musical chairs here. Stop the music. Oh, Marta got down first, Melvin. She wins. Yeah. So, right. So we recognize that all of this is simply breaking it down in a manner. Sorry?
Technical issues, sorry.
It's breaking it down into a manner that we can try to understand. One of the Kabbalistic names that we have for God is Ein Sof. Ein Sof means there is no end. But even that is not describing God. What that's describing is that no matter how much we might ever understand about God, Ein Sof, there is no end. We'll never quite get there. It's always a matter of trying to gain as much of an understanding as we can, but recognizing that we can never get there fully. Umehem, and this is a beautiful piece. Shegmul ha'olam haba, that the gemul, the reward in the world to come, ein adam ro'ilo b'masei atov bilvad. A person is not deserving, worthy, eligible for it just by doing good things. The good act needs to have two other factors along with it. Ha'echad, number one, sheyore b'nei ha'adam avodat habore, that one needs to teach, one needs to guide others in the service of Hashem Yitaleh. The yanhigim, to guide them, la'asot hatov, to do good. As the pasuk says in Daniel, umatzdike harabim, those who are matzdik harabim, that is, acting upon others. Matzdike harabim, those who turn the rabim, turn the many into tzadikim, into righteous, they are kechochavim. They will shine like the stars, lo'olam va'ed, for all eternity. The Amar, and it says in Mishlei, Ulamauchichim yinaim, and to those who guide others, rebuke others when necessary, yinaim, they'll have that ni'imut, that pleasantness. Va'alehem tavo birkat tov, and upon them will come the blessings of tov. The kasher yitkabetz, when there are gathers, when they're aggregates, lemishtadel, for this person, gmul hitzad kato, el gmul tzid kato, when there's the combination of that which one has done for others to help others, along with one's own righteousness, ugemul emunat libo, and the reward for the faith the person had in their heart, visavlo, and the sacrifices, and that which a person carried in order to do these things that are right. Yieroi, then a person will be deserving ligmul ha'olam haba eitzel habore, to this reward in the world to come from the Creator. So that's one. Besides your own actions, you need to have one. You need to be the fact that you are helping others along the way. The hasheni, and the second is chesed me'elokim. With all that, after all that, any reward that we get is a chesed, an act of kindness from God. Unadava, it is a free will, a freebie offering. Vitova, it is God's goodness. As the pasuk says in Tehillim, King David, Ulecha Hashem chesed, to you, God, I attribute chesed, this act of kindness. Ki ata teshalem liish kamaseyu, when you pay a person according to their acts, that is a kindness. It's a chesed. Why is that? Va'ila b'zeh, the reason for this is, ki im hayam ma'aseh adam, if our actions, our good deeds, our mitzvot would be kechol hayam v'mispar, numerous like the grains of sand by the ocean, lo yesh shakul b'tova achat min tova bari barach, that will not equal one tova that God does for us in this world. Olam hazeh, olam hazeh. Kol shekain im yeh lo chet, certainly if along with our good we also have our not so good that goes along with it, we have our errors, our mistakes, willful sometimes. And if God will be exacting with a person, b'tviat hoda'at atova, with a degree of appreciation that we need to have for that which He does for us, anything that we do is batel, is nullified, is nothing. Against the smallest of the good that God does for us. So that which God will give us as reward, it's not that our actions truly justify and bring about that now you owe that to me. Elohu mechesed habore alav. It is from the chesed, the kindness of Hashem on us. Acha onesh b'shnei olamim. But the onesh, the repercussions, the negative repercussions in these two worlds, hu be'emet u'b'din v'chov shechai b'adam, that is what's deserved. Elo shechesed habore yikaber aleinu, but it's God's kindness that overwhelms and overpowers that. B'shnei olamim, in both the worlds. As the pasuk says, Ulecha Hashem chesed, to you God is the chesed, the kindness, v'hu rachum yichaper avon v'lo yashtet, and He is the one, compassionate one, who atones for the sins. So therefore, the Torah is emet, is truth. So it's not going to write that which we'll get if it's not something that we've truly earned, that we truly deserve. If it's only coming to us as a gift of Hashem's chesed, right? There it will not be mentioned in the Torah. The Torah mentions that which comes about as a result of din, of judgment, not as a result of God's benevolence and kindness. Okay, my friends, I'm going to run to davening now. So I've got Shin Nun Bet. Where are we in Sefaria?
Give it 102 moment.
100 and
102.
no,
We started
107.
107.
107.
Yeah, 107.
107. So we'll pick up next week. Beautiful. Have a Shabbat Tov. Good seeing everybody. David, good seeing your name. We'll get to see you in person next time, we hope.
If I can figure that out, I'll be happy to be seen. Thank you.
Okay. Be well, everybody.
Thanks, Rabbi. See you guys, even though I cannot be seen.